Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of a Giant Issue Live. I'm Coach Gene Clemons. I know that I was just with you. I understand, but when I'm here and I'm live, I don't have to wait. Like I can just, talk to you whenever I want to talk to you. And guess what? I wanted to talk to you. Why? Because there has been an announcement. Matt Nagy will now be the offensive coordinator for the Giants. I had to react to it instantly. I couldn't wait because I think this is big. If you watched the show last night, I was pretty adamant that there was one name and one name only that I would get excited about, right? There was one name and one name only that I would get excited about. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is not that name. This is not that name. It's not the name that I expected to hear. It's not the name that I wanted to hear. It's not the name that I went, oh, well, I'll be cool if that's the guy. Like none of that, right? Like I was like, man, if they bring Cliff Kingsbury in here, it'll be an uninspiring hire, right? It won't be an inspiring hire, but I'm okay with it. I've seen what he's been able to do and what offenses under him with mobile quarterbacks look like. I could be all right with it. I know that he's the person scheming things up. I know that he's the person who's calling the plays. I know that he's the person who's putting in the time, right? So from that standpoint, I would have been okay with it, but he was not the name. Charlie Weiss Jr., Charlie Weiss II, Charlie Weiss Dub, Charlie Weiss Duo. This is the last time I'm going to say his name because he's not going to be the Giants offensive coordinator. Yesterday, I said that this was the opportunity the Giants needed to back the Brinks truck up to make sure that they got Charlie Weiss Jr. They could not fumble this hiring. That because John Harbaugh is a CEO coach and not a specialist where he can come in and kind of take the load off on the offensive or defensive side because of that, because that's not what he brings to the table. It was going to be really difficult, right? It was going to be really difficult for me to be okay with a Matt hire. And they went out and got Matt Nagy. Now, keep in mind, like nobody had Matt Nagy on the bingo card. Matt Nagy was not one of the guys that people were looking for. I mean, I'm not going to act like I know what happened with the Chiefs. I'm not going to act like I know what went on with the Chiefs. I just know it ended. And it didn't end with him going to get another head coaching job off of the back of, Big Red, off of what the team did. It ended in the worst season that the Kansas City Chiefs have had in quite some time. And I think this to me is the most damning part. They didn't go out and get like some brand new fresh face, whatever. They didn't go out and get somebody new to bring a new energy into what they were doing. They went and got somebody who understands and knows the culture and for lack of a better term, had a more disciplined, a more tough, a more physical, a more aggressive culture when he was there. They replaced Matt Nagy, the guy who they gave credit for, the guy who outside people gave credit for a lot of the offensive stuff that was going on. They replaced him with Eric Bieniemy, a guy who almost everybody didn't give credit for any of the offensive stuff while he was doing there. But returning Bieniemy back to the OC position tells me that Big Red and Andy Reid understood what he brought to the table and why he was so valuable to that team. So now we have Matt Nagy. And I just want to know how you feel about it. I want to know, like, leave your comments in the comments. We're live right now. We're live on YouTube, New York Giants on SI YouTube. I'm live on my X at Gene Clemons. We're live on my Facebook, Gene Clemons. Wherever you are, I want to see what you have to say about it. I want to see your comments. New York State of Mind says, hearing it, I don't like it, but it's not my decision, so it is what it is. You know, we could say that about everything. We could say that about everything when it comes to these teams. Nothing that these teams do, we have any control over, right? But it is nice to be able to say, I support that decision. It is nice to be able to say, yo, I'm rocking with that. I think that that was a fly decision. And I just don't know how many people are going to be like, oh yeah, no, this is like a really good hire. Right? Like, people who don't know will just assume. And I like this. It says, we just have to trust the process and see what happens. Yeah, like, I get it. I get it, right? I get it. Amon says the same thing. You know, I trust Harbaugh until I don't. Harbaugh has to get the benefit of the doubt in a lot of this. But here's my problem. He had what seemed to be a blank check, right? He had the blank check. He had all the power, or he has all the power, a blank check. And then he has the cachet of being one of the most successful head coaches in the last 15 years of play. So he had all of these things working for him. Why did none of these people want to come work for him? Was it Harbaugh? Was it the Giants? Right? Remember when everybody told us that everyone would want these jobs at the Giants because it's a sexy pick, it's a sexy opportunity to work with a really good quarterback, to work with an offense that has like things popping for it. Like, a lot of people said, hey, this is going to be a desirable destination. Everybody's going to want this job. And then as the head coaching search started popping off, they didn't even flex their muscles, right? They just went with a couple names. It was Stefanski heavy. And then it was Harbaugh, and only Harbaugh, and nobody else but Harbaugh. Like, I can't even really say they legitimately like adhered to the Rooney Rule. Do I think they interviewed people? Yeah. Do I really think they had in their mind of hiring any of these people? Antonio Pierce, I think, got an interview. No. So, like, the guys that they had in place, they didn't even really explore how sexy this location was. They didn't go after any of the younger wonderkins that were out there. They went for established veteran leadership, and they got it in John Harbaugh. So now you add established veteran leadership with a new contract, all the power, Giants opening up the checkbook for the coaches. You add in the opportunity to work with a young ascending quarterback like a Jackson Dart. You add in a wide receiver who's going to be coming off injury, but one of the most talented receivers in the joint in Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson ascended to 1,000 yards. You got Scatterbo, you got Tracy, you got an offensive line that's improved. You have an in-house offensive line coach at the time. Like that's one of the best in the business. Where were all the people knocking down the door in order to take this job? Or did Harbaugh believe he was going to get one of two people to be his offensive coordinator? And when that didn't happen, he looked up and the cupboard was bare. Right? He looked up and the cupboard was bare. Not a sexy choice, just got to trust Harbaugh, who have some toys to work with at least. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. Right? I get it. I don't want people to be disappointed. I don't want people to be disappointed in the hire. I want people to understand why I think this hire or where I think this hire comes from. I think this hire primarily comes out of panic. I think this hire primarily comes from, oh my gosh, what do we do? Because if we look at the Matt Nagy era as offensive coordinator, right? Remember when I talked about wanting an offensive coordinator who advanced things beyond the players instead of the players being able to play above the offensive coordinator? I wanted an offensive coordinator who could coordinate above the players, meaning you don't just get a first down because your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. You get a first down because the scheme is the scheme, and you scheme open a first down. I don't see a lot of that with Matt Nagy. I don't see a lot of, oh my gosh, that was an extremely clever scheme or play or sequence that can be repeated and nobody has an answer for. What I saw was nobody has an answer for Patrick Mahomes. And when Patrick Mahomes isn't there, or when Patrick Mahomes isn't playing to his highest level, then that changes, right? That math automatically changes. And so I'm concerned that what we're getting in Matt Nagy is a veteran offensive play caller who clearly knows the game, but whom I believe might only be good enough to just put the players in certain positions, but not elevate them beyond, or elevate them when they're not at their best, if that makes sense. Like, how do you get the best out of your offense when your players are not playing their best? So that's my concern. The hire is a Band-Aid. I thought John Harbaugh effect would have people banging down the door. Exactly. Because that's what everyone told me, and people said I was being negative, right? People said I was being negative because I was like, hey, does this John Harbaugh hire, does it really move the needle like everybody thinks it does? We thought it did, right? We thought that it would move the needle, and everyone else was probably just like, hey, yeah, that's a cool hire. But like, think about this. We never even got a chance to figure out who the other teams were that were really interested in John Harbaugh. We had no clue. I don't know. I want to hear from you. Keep hitting those comments. I'll keep throwing them up. The Giants are a young team. I guess he's hiring people who can bring structure and discipline, who can hold these players accountable. Now that I'm going to disagree with there, right? Aunt Boogie, I'm going to disagree with that. We can't say he brought Matt Nagy in for the discipline, because we just watched a Kansas City offense this year that did not have discipline. That's one of the reasons why they went back. That's one of the reasons why they went back, right, to Eric Bieniemy. That's the reason that they went and got that old thing back with Eric Bieniemy, because they wanted to see that discipline return. It started to wane. It started to wane. Giants fans don't think we can be too upset. There is literally no way we can get worse than we have already been the past decade. I think the ones hating need to stop being so naive. It's interesting. So, yes, the Giants have not won a ton over the last decade, but there's been several pockets where the Giants offense, and that's all we're talking about here, right? Where the Giants offense has not been bad. If you're looking at the Giants offense from last year and you're saying that that's a bad offense, then I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. That wasn't a bad offense. That was a young, inconsistent offense that dealt with injuries. That's different than just a flat out bad offense, right? Even over the past over the 2 years that were bad after the playoff year, those were not bad offenses. Those were offenses that had a ton of injuries that affected their ability to be consistent. But those weren't bad offenses. Let's see, JP. Hey, and shout out again. The one thing we always know, we don't have to agree, but the respect will be paid. And so I respect those, even if I disagree some, right? He's here to build his team. He knows what he is doing. I trust the process. Okay, cool. So you think that Matt Nagy was his guy? JB on 4DI, whatever. Like, do you think that Matt Nagy was his guy? Because if he was, then what took so long? And why are you interviewing Cliff Kingsbury and all this other stuff that was going on? If Matt Nagy was the guy, why is he just getting here? Why is the offensive coordinator being hired after the assistant offensive line coach is being hired if this was his process and this was the guy he wanted? So, like, I'm cool with whatever, but I find it hard to believe that this was the guy. Now, is it a decent guy? It's a decent guy for sure. Like, I'm not here telling you that he's a bum coordinator. I'm telling you that he's not like I don't get inspired when I see this hire, right? I don't get the, oh, this is great from the hire. So I don't, and again, I want to be fair, right? I don't think that Matt Nagy is an awful choice for Dart. I don't think Matt Nagy is an awful choice for Dart. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't think he's the best. I don't think he's the best. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, Harbaugh was the first domino to fall. He got fired, and within a few days, it was announced that he was going to be the Giants head coach. Then we had to wait for the little moratorium until they figured the contracts up. But he had his pick of guys. Now, the wrinkle is obviously probably his number one choice ended up getting the job with the Browns. But you had to have a 2, a 3, and a 4 in place, ready to go if that went down, right? And so, like, he was one of the first people in there. I don't think Nagy's bad for Jackson Dart because he has had an athletic, mobile, and in a way, Dart is similar to Patrick Mahomes in the way in which he's able to kind of deceive you in the pocket with his quickness. He's able to make things happen, and then all of a sudden pop out and take off, and he's faster than you would think, right? There's a lot of those things going on where he's faster than you think. He is probably stronger than you think. So I'm not surprised of these things. I'm not surprised this stuff is happening. And so, like, I think that he could be a legitimate, like, he can bring some stories, right? He can bring some stories. He can show some parallels between what Patrick Mahomes does and what Jackson Dart does. But I never saw him elevate Patrick Mahomes beyond who Patrick Mahomes is. I never saw him make it easy for Patrick Mahomes, right? Yeah, like, and we're saying it now. Charlie Weiss Jr., he's who I wanted. Everybody knows it. I was banging the table. I really thought that all of the quiet was them backing the Brinks truck up in Louisiana and going to get that man. I did. I was wrong. I thought that was the play. I thought that they were going to go after not only the sexy pick, but the pick that I think would have been the no-brainer pick to pair with Jackson Dart and have them roll through this thing. 5 years of him as the offensive coordinator, right? Just think about it. 5 years, right? The contract length for Harbaugh. Harbaugh steps aside. Weiss is the new head coach at what? 35? Dude is super young, right? At maybe not, I might be joking, but it's still in his 30s, like 5 years later. And now you have him and Dart as a combo for the next 10 to possibly 15 years. Like, I got excited about that. I was wrong. It's not going to be Weiss. Would you rather have Davis square that boy from down south with the gumbo? You ain't wrong. Would I rather have Davis square or that? Yeah. If you're asking me, would I rather have Davis Webb or Matt Nagy? I'm probably going to say, for stability purposes, I'd rather have Matt Nagy because at least I know he can do it. Everything that comes with Davis Webb is all projection. Like, we don't know if he can do it. Now, do I think that pairing Davis Webb with Jackson Dart would have been a pairing that could have, like, rolled concurrent for a long time? Absolutely. I don't know if this Matt Nagy hire is a long-term hire. I think this might, like if he has success, right? If he has success in year 1, year 2, he might be up for another head coaching job. And so, like, he's out of here. For him, the clock is already on because he's been a head coach, right? So, Kafka to Naggie seems logical to keep a similar tree for Dart. That's an interesting take, and I'm not mad at that take at all. Like, the idea that, you had Kafka, who essentially was learning on the job to be a quarterback's coach, to be a coordinator, to be all of the things. He was learning on the job. Matt Nagy has been there and done that. He's been a head coach. He's been a coordinator. So, like, from that standpoint, you could be getting, like, what Kafka would be in another 5 to 7 years, right? You could be getting that guy as, the next dude. A lot of I trust the process, my faith in Harbaugh, all that good stuff. Something stinks in the Cliff Kingsbury camp. Somebody said that. I think that's interesting. Hold on. Something stinks in the Cliff Kingsbury camp. There must be something up with Cliff Kingsbury. There was no reason for him to not be back in Washington. Like, it wasn't his fault that the offense was, like, haphazard this year. It was injuries, right? Everybody knew that. So what was it? Why is Cliff Kingsbury not back? I kind of wonder the same thing about Matt Nagy in Kansas City, but I think I know why. But Cliff Kingsbury, you might be right. There might be something there in with Cliff Kingsbury that we don't know about. I got my guy Rick Mooningham's in the in the queue. Hey Rick, do you make sure you got a microphone or something that's attached over there? If you have a camera, I'd love to see you. If not, it's okay. That's all right. Do you have is your microphone on there, Rick? You could hit me up in the private chat. Let me know if you got a microphone, or not if you have one to plug in, but just if there's a way for it to receive audio. I'd love to bring you on and chat a little bit. It's been a long time. Continuing on though, like this is an interesting one. If you're hiring Nagy, why not just keep Kafka for continuity? It's a great question. The only thing I would suggest is maybe eliminating, Kafka is their way of kind of cleansing the palate, right? Like it could be a way of washing away what was the previous, whatever. So if that's the case, then I'm not mad at it. So yeah, I believe that he was gifted a head coaching job based off of what others were doing, but I'm not mad at him. There's been a lot of white coaches who've been able to do that, and I preface that the right way in case you're wondering. Like the brothers don't get a chance to do this. Like the brothers don't get the job based off of the back of other people. We're seeing what's going around. They really got to earn these jobs. They really got to hold it down in order to get these jobs. There is no bit brothers. There's no cronyism. There's no nepotism when it comes to the black coaches, but it happens for white coaches all the time. And we're not going to sit here and act like it doesn't. I believe he got that job off of the backs of what others were doing. He rode the wave. He 1000% should have done that because that's what you're supposed to do. Right? The Giants may be getting in their own way. You know what? I don't know. Like I said, and again, I want to go back to this because I know that some of this that I've said has been it sounds negative, but like this isn't an awful hire. Like it's not a bad hire. If this is what you had to settle on, I'm not saying that this is awful. I'm not saying that it's awful. What I'm saying is this is unexpected and it doesn't inspire me. I don't get excited about this hire. Right? I don't get excited about this hire. So what am I willing to see how it goes? Absolutely. Like was said earlier, we kind of have no other choice in this matter. Like we just got to watch the way this rides out. But are we excited about it? Nah, I'm probably not excited. Right? If we're being honest, probably not so excited about the opportunity to be involved with this. So yeah, not yeah, I don't know, man. I'm 100% on with the Kingsbury tape. Once he got released so quickly, I was worried we'd be getting someone else's problem. That is a case, and I didn't think about that initially when I said I wouldn't be mad at the Kingsbury hire. Like it could just be like it could just be that he's not like easy or pleasant and by pleasant I don't mean nice because I don't care about that. You can be an a-hole for all I care. All I really want to know is can you coach? Right? Can you coach? Can you be successful? And if the answer is yes, then like sign me up for it, right? So that part I'm good on. Like I don't care about that. But if you're toxic or if what you bring doesn't really evoke like what's best for the team, then Maybe people think that he's selfish. Maybe they think that he's only thinking about himself, right? And that's the case. I know that when we hired Harbaugh, Vegas decided we were going for 8.5 wins. Any idea what Nagy has done to that number? So here's my hot take. That's not really that hot. If they would have left the previous regime intact, they would have won more games last year. If you never fire Daboll, you win more games last year. Even if you brought back even if you brought back Kafka, they were probably going to win 8 games next year. If everybody stays healthy, this team is good enough to win 8 games, right? Does Harbaugh get them to 9 wins? Because 8.5 is an interesting line to have on a team that only won a few games last year. I think Matt Nagy doesn't improve the number because Harbaugh's number is contingent upon an offensive coordinator. I think that he just falls into the Harbaugh number because Harbaugh doesn't give wins over expected. It's his coordinators that give wins over expected. At least that's my opinion on it. He went 34-31 in Chicago as head coach with Trubisky and Fields at QB. Yeah, and your point being, I don't understand. Like, he had Fields. Fields is one of the most talented, naturally talented quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, so how did he improve Fields? Trubisky is not an awful quarterback. He has skills. He has talent. How did he improve Trubisky? Like, that 34-31 should have probably been more like 40-something wins. But it wasn't because he never improved anything about what they do. This ain't difficult to see, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you the play. Eric Bieniemy went over to Chicago this year as the running backs coach. You know what Chicago had this year that they haven't had in the past? A really physical, a really like legitimately dominant running type of offense. You think that came just because of the head coach? You don't think that Eric Bieniemy had legitimate, legitimate say in that? Like in bringing that mindset and bringing that culture? Of course he did. Of course he did. So my question is, what does Matt Nagy elevate? Right? Matt, it says that Nagy's offenses were bad in Chicago. He had bad QBs, but one of those was Trubisky, which was the top pick. What's your thoughts on this bad offenses? So again, I was talking about it, but then also I don't put it all on Nagy, right? Because there was so much like upheaval. There was so many changes. There was so many things going on. You can't put it all on Nagy. It's not all his fault, right? That those things happen. But just in lieu of the court or talking about the quarterbacks and what the quarterbacks bring to the table or don't bring to the table, right? I did not see him elevate any quarterback beyond where they were before him, or where they were projected to be at. Justin Fields, a lot of people consider it to be a project. Did he ever elevate as a passer, or did he just utilize his running ability and never got him whatever it is, never got him beyond that hump? Like that's something that we have to consider. Again, Matt Nagy can't do it all himself as the head coach, but now we're talking about as a coordinator. So now the onus is squarely on him. I'm assuming, Iman, you're saying you don't agree that the Giants would have won more games this year if they would have kept Daboll in place. I assume that's what you're talking about. But I think we should see the fact that Robert Saleh was willing to put his second chance as a head coach on the back of Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator. It tells you a lot about Daboll and the offense. And again, wasn't perfect, but the offensive woes were not, Brian Daboll did not know how to coordinate. The offensive woes were there were inconsistencies on this team. Injuries, big over the last 3 years. The first year when they had success, they did not deal with injuries. Andrew Thomas played a full season. Dexter Lawrence played a full season. They had better linebacker play. Overall, better linebacker play. Right? People made plays. Right? I'm willing to give him a chance. I'm not going to say that this offense won't be better or as good as Daboll's offense. I will say that if the offense is as good as Daboll's offense and they're able to improve the defense, which I think they will, this team will be fine. This team's a playoff team. I think it's that simple, right? So I think Matt Nagy can be good enough, like in what he's asked to do. I think he can be good enough to, to hold the fort and to get. I just don't know from a play calling standpoint if the offense ever gets to its zenith under Matt Nagy. I don't know. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like I'm okay. And this is a great point. Guess Charlie is more loyal than we think. Yeah. That seems to be an easy thing to say, right? Like Charlie Weiss Jr. has his career, right? He has his career based because of what Lane Kiffin did for him. Like Lane Kiffin gave him the opportunity at, what was it, 22 or something like that, 23, to be an offensive coordinator. That's nepotism and cronyism at its best. So you got to be loyal. If it was a head coaching job, I think he goes, and maybe that's what it is. I thought possibly backing up the Brinks truck would work, but I don't know if they tried to back the Brinks truck up. I will do some research and see if they really tried to make a run for him. I don't even know if they tried to make a run for him, but I don't see why you wouldn't. As a Ravens fan, you're right. Harps heavily relies on his coordinators to the point where he will throw him under the bus if the game plan isn't solid. Right? He should. And he should. He should throw them under the bus as long as he's giving them all the credit, right? As long as he's giving them all the credit when they win or when they do well, which it seemed as if he was doing. So, like, that's my thing. Hold people accountable. If you're going to hold them accountable, I'm cool with that. As long as you're like giving them all of the kudos when it's time to get a kudos out. Somebody said perhaps the Tisch news turned off potential OC candidates. You think? Like, it's not really how sports work. Like, that's how the outside perception of sports is, but it's not how it works. Like, inside those locker rooms, they don't give a damn about Tisch. Like, inside those locker rooms, they're not thinking about what the owners are doing. Inside those locker rooms, they can care less about what owners are on, what time owners are on. They care about their jobs. They care about their jobs first. They care about their teammates second. They care about the team third. And then it's all a bunch of other stuff that have nothing to do. These players don't care who the owners are. They don't even look at the signature on the check. When they get their checks, well, they don't get checks anymore, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, they don't care. So, like, these offensive coordinators and coaches, there's not a lot of them jobs. So when they come open, these guys are taking those jobs unless they have other options, right? But I think what happened is, this is just me speculating, with so many job openings at head coach and so many new coordinators, because there were coordinators getting fired, like, because there was so much change, there was a lot of opportunity. So a lot of these coordinators had their pick of jobs. They didn't have to settle, or they didn't have to take a job that they thought, well, that one might be a little bit more like strenuous. If you're the offensive coordinator in Arizona, you're not getting pressed like you're getting pressed in New York. If you're the offensive coordinator in Louisiana, in Tampa, right, in Tennessee, you're not getting pressed the same way you're getting pressed in New York. And if you're the offensive coordinator in LA, you're not getting pressed like you're getting pressed in New York. So I think, like, some of these guys were lost to way of life. Super expensive in New York, right? A lot of criticism from media, from fans, from, yokels talking on a microphone, right? A lot of criticism to be had from that. And on top of that, you got the weather. And a lot of these jobs were coming open in places that just have better weather than what you're going to run into in New York. I think that matters, right? I think that matters. Who caught the plays in Kansas City and did his contract expire and wanted to try for a head coaching job? Didn't work out, so now he is available. Yeah, so his contract, if I'm not mistaken, his contract did expire. Like, it was an expiring contract. But I didn't hear his name really being bantered about any head coaching positions. Like, there was not talk. I heard no talk of him as a legitimate head coaching candidate. So I don't know if that was the case. I really and truly believe that this was like a parting of ways. Like, hey man, thanks, but we're going to go in a different direction. And since your contract is up, we can do it pretty simple. Maybe it was Matt Nagy saying, hey, you know what? This whole Kansas City thing has gotten stale. Let me try something different, right? So that'll be interesting to see how that good. I think this is a good one. He says Daboll's jump to success is tied to a QB, and now he has Cam Ward, which they tried to trade up to get. His jump to success, his jump to a head coaching job, is tied to a QB, but it's tied to him elevating that QB beyond where he was before he touched him, right? Allen was here. His work with Daboll got him here, and Daboll was able to cash in on it. Make no mistake, this is not a problem. Like, that's what everybody does. But you can't say that's what Matt Nagy did, because when he took over as offensive coordinator, Patrick Mahomes was already that dude. And then he got quarterbacks, and there was no elevation. Right? There was no elevation. So that's all I'm saying. I think that he'll do the same thing for Cam Ward, by the way. I think he will elevate Cam Ward. Think about it. Brian Daboll had Tommy DeVito out there, and people had legitimate belief in Tommy DeVito. That was under this dude. He got the best season that Daniel Jones had out of Daniel Jones until last season. He's been a force multiplier when it's come to the quarterback position for the most part. And now he gets to just be an offensive coordinator, right? Now he just gets to be an offensive coordinator. Who do you view as an O-line hire? That's such a crucial hire. It's a shame Brasillo is gone. I talked about this, on other shows. I think that the play was completely missed. And again, I have questions because his offensive line coach chose to go with his offensive coordinator. He didn't choose to come to New York. They let Brasillo walk out the door and go with the old head coach. Harbaugh had the first moves to make, and he didn't make them, right? He had the first moves to make, and he didn't make them. That says a lot. It says a lot. That's all. It says a lot. Hey, I got a compliment. I appreciate it. I'm going to put these compliments up here now. Again, I had to come to you guys live because this to me is the domino. Like more than who was going to be the defensive coordinator, because I almost think it's impossible to be worse than Shane Bowen. We saw that when the outside linebackers coach just took over, like we saw that then. So I think it's going to be more difficult to like be worse than what he was. But, we'll see. I think this offensive line, this offensive coordinator domino needs to happen. So now that this offensive line domino can happen, I'll hit that. Y'all got to excuse me for a second while I say what's up to my girl. Sammy! Sam Awesome, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all want to know, at Sam Awesome on Instagram. She's the best and one of the best designers. Like she does a great job with all of her graphics. Every time I see it, I'm like, I wish I had that talent, but I just don't, You
could if you tried. It just takes practice.
I practice a lot. It just don't look like yours. They just don't look like yours. I've been doing a lot of this. A lot of practicing doing this, and maybe in another life when I don't have 8 billion other things to do, I'll just spend hours upon hours trying to get to where you probably were when you were like 16. It's cool.
Yeah. No. So my first job when I was 14 years old was I was an art teacher at an after-school program, and I taught ages 5 to adult. So I'm telling you, it's just practice. So if you have any time you want to dedicate to drawing, design, anything, it just takes the willingness and want to learn. And that's it. It's super easy.
Spoken like a former teacher. It's good to see you. I'm sure I'll see you soon again for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like I look at these things and I just go, like, what do we have to do in order to be excited for this team? Like, I don't know. I'm going to enjoy seeing this Titans this year. I expect Cam Ward to look much better this year. Yeah, me too. Like, so much better that it may make me go, man, we should have pulled the Eli to get that dude, right? But again, I can't say anything bad because Jackson Dart exceeded expectations this year. And so really excited about seeing what Jackson Dart does next year. You know what? If I'm being honest, I'm kind of really excited about this entire 2025 quarterback class that is scheduled to start next year. Like, I'm excited to see Dart. I want to see what Tyler Shuck does with a full season under his belt as the guy, rolling in as the guy. Obviously with Cam Ward, I want to see what Shedeur Sanders is going to do. I want to see if Shedeur, with a coordinator that's now a head coach who seems to be on his side, who seems to want him as a quarterback, if that's what plays out, I want to see what he does with a year, right? I want to see, like, if we get to see through the preseason some Jalen Milroe in Seattle, like, and what how he's able to continue to improve. I don't think he'll be the guy, but I'm waiting to see it. Like, I want to see it. So that's the thing. I want to see it. I want to know what it looks like. And so I'm excited about all of those, all of those quarterbacks. And here's the thing, right? Matt Nagy, I agree that everybody's not meant to be a head coach. I don't think Matt Nagy was a great head coach. I just don't know if he's a great coordinator either. I think he's a good coordinator. I think he's a solid coordinator. I just don't know if he's a great. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. I thought we would get top tier coordinators here due to Harbaugh's hiring. You got a top tier defensive guy, right? The Giants were able to bring in a top tier defensive guy, and I know I haven't really talked about him. I haven't really had a chance. Maybe this week, I will, get there and actually talk about him. But that was an elite level guy that, they were able to get. So I'm excited about the defense, especially because he's a defensive coordinator with a defensive background, like working with defensive backs. So like I'm fly with that. I just don't know about, I don't know the other things. We keep saying Daboll's offense when Kafka was the OC. That's because it was Daboll's offense, big dog. Like the first year, Kafka was the play caller, but like Daboll's fingerprints were all over. That's his offense that Kafka was running. The next year, Daboll took over, the third year, Daboll took over play calling. The fourth year, they gave it back to Kafka. Like, this is Daboll's offense. It's okay. Like, Kafka had never been an offensive coordinator before. He came here and had to learn. They cobbled together an offense that fit the quarterback they had at the time, Daniel Jones. And I'm not saying that Kafka didn't put his own wrinkles on it, but we don't have to sit here and act as if that wasn't Daboll's offense. Like, it was Daboll's offense. It's okay. But yeah, so I appreciate all of you guys for hopping on, man, and let's get an opportunity to talk about this. Have a great conversation. To everybody that's popped in, well over 150 people continuously on. I'm sure a lot more will tune in and listen on on YouTube at New York Giants on SI YouTube. Make sure that you hit that subscription button. If you're here from X, and I know there's a large amount of you that are here from X, and you have not subscribed to the New York Giants on SI YouTube, please go over there and do that. We are trying to get to, and by we, I mean me. Let's be real about it. I'm the person who boosts this. I don't think Paul really boosts it like I do, but I'm a little bit more with it when it comes to that. We're at 2,933 subscribers right now. We need 67 subscribers in order to get to 3,000. My goal this week is to get to 3,000 before I leave San Francisco. I need you guys' help out there. If you have not subscribed to the New York Giants on SI YouTube channel, go ahead and do that now, please. Let's get those subs up. I want to get to 3,000 before the Super Bowl so that when I turn my attention fully to the draft, I want us to get to 4,000 by the draft, right? It's not too much to ask. We know that the Giants nation, the Big Blue Nation, is millions of fans strong. So it's not a big deal to give us like 20 to 30,000 of you. And I'm willing to work. I'm willing to do the work to build this thing up. When I first started doing the Giant issue, we weren't even a monetized channel. We had less than 1,000 subs. We didn't have the time. And it was just me. I was plugging along, right? Hit after hit after hit. We've built this thing together, and we're going to continue to build it together. So I appreciate all the conversations. But if you're on X and you have not gone ahead and hit that subscribe button for the New York Giants on SI, make sure you do that. And then if you want to, hey yo, shout out to the appreciate you. And if you want to, go over to at Coach Gene Clemons on YouTube and subscribe to the Coach Gene Clemons YouTube channel. Right? Appreciate all of y'all, man. Hey, until next time, y'all stay breezy. I told you I'm going to be with you all week. I want to hear from those people who said, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. That's 2 days in a row. I'll be with you all week from not Radio Row anymore, Media Row, talking all things Giants and then just some other fly stuff that might be going on. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.